Hello, and today we'll continue with Chapter 2 for Nerus. So, you hear the fan in my room. It's triple digits where I'm at. Like it's 103 degrees outside, so hope you all don't mind the fan noise. But I really need it on. It's 103 out there. So, just got done playing this record. So these two new records have popped up, so I'm going to do this one first. And I believe this one will continue Aloy's story, but I want to go ahead and do this one first. And this one is in playback. The harbor was so crowded it was difficult for Buddy to move without someone tripping over his tail. At Lisa's suggestion, he picked it up and held it tight against his side until they were outside. They took two maps of the city on their way out. They were rather rudimentary, focusing on the biggest tourist attractions and some popular hotels. She had to make do, thought Lisa. Buddy was pointing here or there on the map, asking them questions. How about we stay here? Look, there's a sushi place nearby. I don't know. I don't like sushi that much. That's only because they don't use good ingredients back home. But here it says all their ingredients are mostly fresh. Besides, you only tried it once. I'm partial to this one. The rooms on the upper floors must have a splendid view of the bay. And Lisa spaced out while Buddy and Bernardo discussed which place would be better. She stared off into the bay and the horizon beyond. The wind made her turn up her nose. In the end, Bernardo changed his mind and agreed the hotel near the sushi restaurant would be better. The view wouldn't be as impressive, but it was a bustling area by comparison. At least it didn't mind either way. They passed dozens of people eating sugary snacks they got from a nearby stand, stopping for souvenirs or sitting down while they conversed with friends. While they were expecting to stumble into a street performance, they and everyone else got startled when suddenly a man began bashing a blue sack against the asphalt while he bellowed like a cat in pain. It wasn't long before guards stood up and the man ran for it. The sack hit the road one last time and the flour inside spilled, some of it getting blown away by the wind. She was lively in here. Buddy shrugged and they went about their way. After checking into the hotel, the crocodile suggested they get some food, but Lisa stepped away from them. You guys enjoy yourselves. Are you going already? Yes, don't worry, I'll get some food by myself later. Money was the last thing she was short on after splitting Maggie's payment after all. I see. Take care, Lisa. Come back here if you need something. We'll leave a note if we go after eating, so you'll know where to find us. I'll be fine, really. If I find well, I'll just have a few words with him and punch him in the nose before I come back. That'd be great. They waved at each other and Lisa walked away. Ronaldo lowered his hand and looked at the crocodile who was staring at her back. The bearded vulture spoke quietly. Are you worried? Is it that obvious? You know, if you think this isn't safe, perhaps we can talk her to stop me. I'm not sure that would be for the best. Lisa never sold herself fully to others, and Buddy was better at that, so he never talked about the things she kept hidden. No matter how heavy Buddy tried to bear it for her, if she was strong enough to do it, why not him as well? This, however, he couldn't bear alone anymore. Elisa never sold herself fully to others, and Body respected that, so he never talked about the things he Elisa never sold herself fully to others, and Body respected that, so he never talked about the things he kept hidden. No matter how heavy Body tried to bear it for her, if she was strong enough to do it, why not him as well? This, however, he couldn't bear alone anymore. Once her goal was almost enough to crush him. He searched the park for a spot free of stupid ears and eyes. At the very least, he didn't want to divulge anything in front of complete strangers. Do you remember the way Elisa was behaving back at the church? She suffers from a hereditary condition. It happened to her mother, apparently to her grandfather as well. They lost their mind and expired. But no doctor we ever visited was able to find what was wrong with her. Do you think it's happening to her? No, maybe Elisa is afraid because her albinism manifested much earlier, but as far as I can tell, there isn't connected to illness beyond the fact that they seem to come in a package. And once her mother's condition developed, and she deteriorated almost instantly. Nothing like Elisa's case. The crocodile's throat rumbled as he struggled finding the words. It's like a neuronal disease that only affects old people. Some doctors told me that they had clients like that and agreed it might be the case here. But at least for now, Lisa is safe. It went without saying that he had already told her this. Elisa was unconvinced and at some point started thinking that perhaps Will would know something about her condition. The crocodile initially suspected perhaps she was mixing her health anxieties with a desire to meet again with her biological father. But Elisa wasn't interested in Will. He only was a potential source of information for her. But the trauma she had suffered when Angela deteriorated drove her forward instead. Terrified of suffering the same fate, she wouldn't accept it being unfixable even if it would only help in the distant future. I don't know what to do. Will isn't here, but Elisa still wants to find him. Was coming here a mistake? Body looked frail as if a breeze could topple him over, so Bernardo wrapped an arm around his shoulders. He couldn't reach all the way around, but that didn't stop him. The crocodile leaned on him, taking in his warmth. Elisa's grown up now, so I think it's good that you're respecting her wishes. That said, you can always talk to her if you don't agree with what she's doing. But I can never get through to her. I know I'm practically a stranger, but perhaps I could help you next time. Both of you might benefit from my outside perspective. Body smiled. Bernardo's words weren't enough to clear away his doubts, but he appreciated them. Maybe let's enjoy ourselves until then. She get angry if I spent our trip moping around. Elisa would never find well by wandering around, so she needed to think back to what she knew and narrow down the area of investigation. Plato had never come under Elisa's sight, even during her travels, for a simple reason. Her grandfather's company wasn't active here. But that lead never bore fruit. Even if she only had Aloysius' word to go off of, Plato was her new lead. After asking one of Body's contacts to look into it, it came to light that Will, or at least someone using his name, had contracted a construction company called Peak Architecture to work on a few projects. Those locations would be a good start, but she only have some time to check all of them out. First, she headed to the docks as several of the warehouses there had been built by peak architecture. However, the warehouse district was huge and investigating it was extremely time-consuming. There wasn't any tell if a particular warehouse was a work of the company, so she had to check every building for potential clues, at least those that were currently unlocked or had dock workers transporting cargo in or out of. Elisa considered asking the workers if they knew about peak architecture or even about well. But being realistic, they would probably not know what she was talking about. In the worst case scenario, they would realize she shouldn't be there and ask her to leave. And besides, it was already awkward enough to walk into their workplace to snoop around. And so she wasted most of the day at her first destination. It was already well past noon. She leaned against a wall as she checked the city map, biting her thumb. She still had plenty of time, but only assuming the other locations wouldn't be as time-consuming. Alicia wanted to visit a shopping district the company had renovated next, but ultimately left it for tomorrow. Somewhere smaller would be better. The neighborhood wasn't as grandiose as the docking district or the city center. Although a venue cut through it, the shops and restaurants were humble, and rather than tall hotels, there were tightly knit homes and some boarded-up buildings as well, which was why the construction site stood out. Whatever they had been building was significantly larger than anything else there. A looming rusty fence barred access to the site, too tall to peek over. Even so, the dead silence gave away no sign of activity. She stopped the first person she stumbled upon, and after confirming they were a local, asked them about the construction site. I remember. So, part of that block burned to a crisp some years ago, and it's slowly being rebuilt. That terrain has passed hands a lot ever since, so construction has started and stopped a couple of times. What are they building here? Where is it? I think it was a hotel, but come to think of it, I have seen no one work here for a while, so maybe they're about to sell it again. Okay, how long ago was it last worked? 2 months ago, maybe. Elisa kept stopping people to ask them about the construction site, only to receive conflicting information about both the purpose of the building and how long ago the construction company had last been there. Gossip and rumors had mixed with the facts, so she probably couldn't extract any reliable information from the neighbors. If she ran out of leads, she would revisit the construction site. Perhaps she would find someone related to peak architecture there later, if only by chance. Let's see, do I have enough time to check anywhere else today? Elisa made a turn into a desolate street as she walked back to the city center. A breeze stirred the leaves scattered across the road, as well as a map. It was then that, out of the corner of her eye, she saw it. A golden light broke through dust. As Elisa stared at it, she made out the shape of a large stained glass window and then the church it belonged to. It was small, almost hidden, as she wouldn't have noticed it if not for the glow. The wind pushed her toward it. This is... See if I can make a save here. Not very often that we get choices in this game. This might be only the third choice we've had so far in this game, I guess, but it's certainly within a handful. I'll go to the apartment. And yeah, Elisa couldn't help but step closer. That warm yellow glow was familiar. How long had it been since the last time she climbed onto the chair and looked out the window at night. Since the cold wind blew her hair back like this was the premonition of an upcoming reunion. She noticed a crack between the tall double doors as she nudged them open. Alicia walked between the pews, each of her footsteps echoing around her as she scanned the nave for anyone else, but she was alone. On the stained glass, glowing like a cat's eye, welcomed her. Then the creak of a door. It didn't come from the entrance, but from behind the high altar. Alicia found that the statues of the high altar. They didn't look like any interpretation of the deities she was familiar with, but just people. But the hybrid was more concerned by the noise. As their footsteps drew closer and a figure emerged from behind the high altar. It was an old woman in a habit with white, messy hair that covered part of her face. What do we have here? I don't think I've seen you before, girl. My memory isn't what it used to be, but I think I remember you. You look quite striking. Lisa took a step back. Who are you? That's a rude question considering you are the one barging into my church, don't you think? At least introduce yourself first, little girl. Elisa. The nun repeated that name under her breath of frown. She nodded her forehead some, as though trying to get the old gears in her brain turning. What are you doing? Just jogging my memory. Let me guess, you're here to visit a relative. That's one way to put it. No, not really. The nun shook her head, frustrated. I suppose that makes sense. You don't look like a dog, so it must be misremembering. So obvious. What do you mean? She pursed her lips, not sure what Elisa was confused about. I thought you were a relative of one of the monks, is all. I'm sure one of them mentions Elisa every once in a while. This monk, where is he? Let me see if he isn't in his dormitory. The woman turned around with effort and retreated behind the high altar. There was the noise of a door opening and then the fading footsteps. Elisa sat down on one of the pews, clasping her hands. She hadn't noticed how tense her shoulders had become. Who could blame her? A dog blessed that knew her name wasn't likely to be a coincidence, so she wanted to believe. But no matter how long she waited, sitting there with bated breath, the nun wouldn't return. She's taking so long. I wonder if something happened. Well, she looked nice enough. I guess she won't mind if I go looking for her. Lisa spied behind the high altar and found two dimly lit doors. One of them was ever so slightly open. After staring for a long time, she stepped forward and finished opening the door. On the other side, a staircase descended into darkness, and within the shades, something flickered, undulated. Squinting, she called out, "Hello?" No response. Lisa stood in the doorway for a long time before gathering the courage to descend into the hallway. As her eyes slowly acclimated to the dark, she noticed many doors lining the corridor. There was something that looked like a small window on each. The old lady had mentioned something about dormitories, so she wondered if that's what these were. Maybe everybody was sleeping. That would explain why no one answered her call. Eventually the hallway ended in a larger, sturdier door. This one was open and a faint blue glow escaped from it. What's this? In the church of steps was an empty room with a large fountain in the center, illuminated by the blue glow that slipped in through a skylight. Where was this, even? Elisa had been walking for a long time. Why did this church expand so far underground? But before she could make sense of this, she noticed something else. Golden scales glistening under the moonlight. A figure lay on the steps of the fountain, unmoving. Elisa sprinted toward it, splashing water as he climbed the structure. Upon close inspection, the fountain's sediments were shallow, so the lizard wasn't at risk of drowning. "Are you alright?" She placed a boot on his shoulder and nudged him. She grunted and twitched in response. Lisa sighed with relief, but suspicion was brewing within her. It was clear this wasn't a normal church, and she didn't want to become involved with whatever was happening here. The lizard could help himself once he finished waking up, so nothing stopped her from getting out then. Besides, she didn't even know who this was, and she would never see him again. There was no reason to help him, but she hesitated to walk away. Then the lizard eyelids opened slightly, and his amber gaze wandered to her. There was a pause when their eyes met, and then a word escaped his lips, so weak it was, almost drowned out by the flowing water. "Elisa." "Huh? What?" The lizard didn't answer. He couldn't understand her. "Why does he know me? Have I met him before?" "No, I remember that. I never seen a blessed one like this. And what was he doing here? None of this makes sense." This might be a stretch, but could he have something to do with Well? That thought alone was enough to change her mind. As she flipped the lizard over, she grabbed him by the arm and dragged him to the door. Seeing as her words weren't reaching him, she smacked him on the face repeatedly. His scales were surprisingly hard. Only when he moved did he stop and whispered, "Can you hear me?" This time there was some light in his eyes. He looked around for a moment before focusing on her. "Hello?" The lizard frowned, and after several seconds began getting up. Lisa attempted to help him, but he rejected her by pushing her away. Then he walked into the hallway. "Hey!" Lisa followed him back to the nave and to the left door. The lizard stopped right as he was about to enter the room. He turned to her annoyed. "I need to get dressed. Do you mind?" "Oh, I guess not." A while later, he came back out, drawing fully dressed. It looked as if he was in a hurry to get somewhere, so Lisa preemptively stood in the way. "Hey, I'm sorry I hit you, but it surprised me that you said my name. Do I know you?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Let's go. Hurry." The lizard simply pushed her aside and began making his way back upstairs. Well, this will be difficult. He's definitely not the one the old lady was talking about. He's not even a dog. He had recognized her. In his stupor, he didn't realize what he was seeing was real and uttered her name. Now he was trying to pass it off as if this hadn't happened. Something felt off, but Lisa didn't have time to think. She needed to follow the stranger. "Where are you going?" The lizard went outside the church with an insistent Elisa in tow. Once the chilly night breeze hit them, he stopped and looked around, before turning to the hybrid. "How did you get there?" "Why would I answer that? You've been ignoring all my questions." "What do you want?" "Since you already know my name, an introduction would be a good start." Elisa made it clear she wouldn't introduce herself to him. Perhaps he would slip up and say her name again, after all. The lizard's gaze turned thin with suspicion. "I am Florals, and again, I don't know you." "Whatever. Why were you lying in that fountain naked, Florals?" He broke eye contact. "I was bathing. I slipped and fell, and then you found me." "That doesn't sound right." "What do you think I was doing then?" "I don't know, but that's still an obvious lie. You didn't seem to want to be in that church, so why would you bathe there?" And where were your clothes? I didn't see them anywhere near the fountain. Come to think of it, that's even stranger. That was your room you got those clothes from, wasn't it? You're pretty large, with an equally large tail. I can't imagine you ransacked a random room, and happened to find clothes that fit you there. Then why did you say we needed to get out? What are you hiding? Florus sighed, exasperated. He stopped in his tracks and turned around, his tail almost hitting Elisa in the face as it swung around. If you find that church again, don't go near it. Maybe I won't need to go in there again if you answer my questions. Now, do you know a blessed one called Well? He's a canine, looks like a German Shepherd, Owen's eyes. Is that so? What about a company called Peak Architecture? No. If he's lying, he's not making it as obvious as last time. Now wondering if that was on purpose, I might need to change my approach. She wouldn't get anywhere with yes or no questions. She needed to catch him lying. Use something he had said against him, or lure him into something incriminating himself. But before she could come up with anything, the lizard turned away. Wait, I've had enough of this. I recommend you take my warning to heart. By the time Lisa noticed the tail curling around her ankle, her face was already about to beat the floor. She rolled over to fall on her shoulder, grunting in pain. It wasn't difficult to guess what Florus was planning. She pounced forward, nearly falling again, but it was too late. He was nowhere to be found. That damn piss-stained lizard! Elisa looked around for a while and described the lizard to everyone he stumbled into, but to no avail. It was getting dark, so as much as it pained her, she ended that day's investigation there. Ah, Lisa, you're finally back. Sorry, I didn't realize how late it had gotten. On the way to the hotel, Elisa had been contemplating how much to tell Buddy about what had happened after she found the church. Her first instinct was to explain everything, if anyone could make sense of all that, if it was a crocodile. But considering how hesitant he was about coming to play there, perhaps this wasn't such a good idea. But Buddy and Elisa understood that the moment they arrived at the city. There was little he could do to get in her way anymore. Still impossible, the hybrid wanted to avoid worrying her father. So she ended up telling a lie that there was a commotion at the doctor delayed her investigation, thus she finished much later than estimated. However, she was still thinking about Florus. It must have sown during dinner, judging from the glances the two blessed men exchanged. What's on your mind, Lisa? I'm thinking about whether Well has many friends, I guess. He was always making new friends during our travels. I wonder if anyone you met back then lives here now. Do you know anybody? It's possible. But I don't know for sure. I fell out of contact with almost everyone. I take it the investigation didn't yield good results. I'm just considering different approaches. Will has been untraceable for so long that even if he's in this city, I think it won't be easy to find him. Buddy let out that low, contemplative growl of his. The topic changed to how Buddy and Bernardo's day went for what remained of dinner. After having sushi, we ended up spending most of the day at the beach. It was very nice. It's been so long since I last sunbathed and took a swim. I'm afraid I don't do too well with either sand or the sea. Neither does Elisa, to be fair. Hey, don't make fun of me. I wasn't even there. Besides, I can swim just fine. Come to think of it, we did bring her a gift. Right, Buddy? The crocodile slapped himself on the forehead before getting up to get something from the kitchen. He returned with a box full of some kind of fried dough snack covered in white dust. They had faint, salty smell. These are called churros. I bet you've never had these before. I have actually, but thank you, they aren't bad. You're welcome. Buddy smiled as he took a churro from the box. Sweet foods were far from better. Sweet foods were far from her favorite, but they made a nice snack every once in a while. What she didn't expect was the explosion of saltiness once she bit into it. She made an effort to keep her face neutral as possible. Damn it, do they prepare them different here? By the 7, I still realized. Elisa got up after finishing her churro and her plate. I'm exhausted, I'm going to bed. Do you mind doing the dishes? Leave it to me. By the way, Elisa, there's something we'd like to talk to you about. Oh? Are they officially dating? He looks nervous. What is it? It's about your searching for Well. It took all her willpower to not click her tongue with disappointment. There's nothing bad, Lisa. Body wants to discuss some misunderstandings both of you might be having. Alright, but can it wait until tomorrow? I really don't have the energy for this now, I suppose. But we are talking tomorrow morning, yes? Good night, you two. After preparing for bed, Elisa pulled the curtains aside and looked out the window. The sky was clear and starry, but she focused on the lights of the buildings and streets nearby. The first time she saw the church, it looked as if that yellow glow was coming from the inside. But once she got in, it looked the other way around, and there weren't any lit lamps or candles inside. Was she hallucinating again? That didn't seem right. It was too real. Her mind trailed off to a night similar to this one, back when her original family was still whole. She had gotten up to go to the bathroom and became entranced by the sight of her neighborhood at night. It was the same that Body's house lacked a second floor. She missed overlooking the city. Finalizing playback. Alright, so we completed this record here. So apparently this yellow line here continues the story with Barty, at least Bernardo. But I guess what the color change from green to yellow means that they're now in Plato. So they made a trip to Plato so she could look for her father. Well, she don't care for him, and she even said she would knock him out, really. Because he wasn't really the best father. So she just wanted information from him. That's all. So this yellow will represent some being in Plato now. So Florals, that big yellow reptile that lie there naked in the fountain, he knows Elisa, but for some reason he won't tell Elisa that he knows him. So he's just pretending like he doesn't know her, and because he shouted out her name before she even got the chance to talk to him. So I think he's related to Well. I think he knows Well. I don't know if he met Elisa before or if Elisa had the same description as what Well told him. But I believe he is related to Well somehow. And for some reason he was told not to reveal himself, or he was told, like, I think for some reason the father Well does not want Elisa to know his whereabouts. So Flores probably thought about that. You know, Will doesn't want any of his family members to know where he is or what he's doing, so I'm not going to tell her that I know Will. So that's probably why he, as soon as after he called out her name, he flipped and decided to pretend that he didn't know her. And he said that she should never go in that church again. I don't know what's about this church that makes it bad for her not to go in there, but apparently he was lying on the floor naked, and there was something about this fountain. I don't know, it has some kind of magical properties or some kind of chemical in it that makes him go like that. I have no idea. But ever since we started chapter 2, that picture there of the fountain has been used for the main menu for chapter 2. So the fact that that was used for the main menu in chapter 2, that fountain must have some importance going ahead in the story. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue with Aloys. Initialize and playback. 4 days left. One bump followed by another and another. The carriage's wheels steadily crossed the dirt and walked in its path, occasionally letting out a creak in protest. Aloy sat in the saddles, blindfolded and handcuffed. He thought he had just fallen asleep, but maybe that was a long time ago, which would make sense as he didn't remember being so restrained. As he sifted, he discovered a chain attached to his bindings. He wasn't alone in the compartment. He could smell them, hear them. It was probably a man wearing leather boots, judging from the noise he made, and judging from the smell of gunpowder, he must have been a hunter. Are you awake? The gruff voice trailed off. How are you finding your bindings? They are not so bad, assuming I'm not made to wear them for the rest of my life, that is. Probably not, but they might lock you up for the rest of your life if they don't kill you. If they blindfolded him, then they didn't want him to know their destination, so he skipped that question. Though the lack of familiar elements such as assault and death in the air told him they were deeper in the continent. I don't think they'll kill you, though. Or maybe they want to interrogate you first. I doubt I have anything of value to tell the churches. Or do the deities themselves judge you in person? It might be a different story then. Why do you think they'll kill me? Let me guess, a hunch. Yeah. Did the hunter already know that he wouldn't execute Aloys? Or was the monk getting desperate, the gravity of his situation finally dawning on him? Doubtful what little capacity he had to feel fear had vanished when he stared into Nox's mouth for the first time. Hey, why do you do it? Why do you want to know? You know that village at the foot of the mountain in Monterey? Yes, there's a similar village back in Hollow Mountain. But you ever stayed in either? No, I only passed by them whenever I needed to go to the port. Then you probably never noticed how different people are there. They are superstitious, isolated, very fearful of the deities. When I got off the island to become a hunter, I was amazed. The world was kinder than I had thought. So I tried to show it to my family. Took them on a trip to introduce them to my friends, sold them the city. But they couldn't adapt. It amazed them too, of course, but they were incompatible with the outside. I assume you were still young when you left the island. Perhaps that helped you adapt since you weren't so set in your ways. That's not all. The outside is full of wonder, sure, but there's evil as well. Life in the village is easy. You wake up, feed the cattle, work the land, and deliver your produce up the mountain. Sometimes you get resources from the port, but that's as far as irregularities go. But people on the outside lie and will take advantage of your goodwill if you sow too much of it. And you need to survive. There won't be a man in a habit that'll tell you what to do for the season. It's a complicated place, is what I mean. I know all this, but I can't understand why they couldn't live here. I don't understand what made them like this, and that doesn't sit right with me. This is all to say that if you were in my shoes, this would have been your motive. Yeah, interesting idea, coming from a hunter. Says a monk who killed the abbots, but I still believe in and fear the deities. It's just that the churches are not the deities. The churches are, well, they're run by people. If the seven were looking over the abbots' shoulders all the time, you wouldn't have killed them, right? I suppose not. It was almost imperceptible, like the pull of the moons on the sea, but an emotion still within the werewolf. It pulled back and forth away, just big enough for the werewolf to take notice. I figured I couldn't be the only one that wanted at least one of the abbots dead. But now that I hear it directly from someone, I must say I believe that I got to them first. What do you mean? I feel I grew a bit closer to my Lord by doing this, huh? So that's the reason? If that's what the hunter believes, so be it. The werewolf didn't need to explain himself, but little he had, he would keep close to his heart. I always leaned back as he continued hearing the man talk. He tried to pay attention, but after a few minutes, sleepiness overcame him. At some point, Alois woke up to a few unknown voices alongside the distant weight of his wrist and the clank of chains. A cold, somewhat humid breeze hit him as they led him off the carrots. Perhaps it was night. Asphalt soon replaced the grass under their soles, and the click of heavy lock unlocking welcomed Alois into the building. The stale yet sterile air reminded the werewolf of the laboratories in Hollow Mountain. The place must have been massive considering the echo of their steps. They went through another door, and after more noise, there was nothing. Alois remained still for a few minutes until he slipped both thumbs under the blindfold and removed it. He was alone in a rather cramped room, or more likely a cell. It had the bare minimum he needed to live there, except for a kitchen, and silver key glimmered on the bed sheets. The monk fished his necklace from under his habit in focus. A visit of the Lord of Night came into focus. He was sitting on the bed playing some card game alone. Alois tried to move, but his movements were sluggish and the world around him a blur, so he kept his eyes on his master. Well, we're in quite a pinch now, my lords. Has anything happened on your end, my lord? If Body knows your involvement, then the other churches won't be far behind. No, but that doesn't mean Tim hasn't noticed. His lack of action must mean he and the descendants noticed something was amiss with me long ago and already took measures under my nose. Never leaving the island was a good idea. I suppose I'm not that good of an impersonator. I stole this cell from an actual organ, remember? He didn't remember not missing that, but oh well. But what about you, my lords? Did everything go as you hoped? We'll see. Now, the Wicked needs to take over and deal with the gatekeepers. but that might not go smoothly. He will become abbot, but what you did has caused much turmoil. He'll need to investigate the resulting political storm before he can fully take over. So it all depends on how quickly he can succeed Aval. I must sacrifice only for it to be completely out of their control in the end. But I've always suspected that a single person, no matter how remarkable, couldn't create change on their own. So you're leaving it up to luck then? Maybe. But even if I had more plans, it would still be up to luck after that. The world's a living being. You can never be sure of how it'll react. You're not wrong. Everything is the male's body, matter with bits of his soul in it. Although he stumbled onto the bed and reached into knock, or rather the key, inside his projection. It was difficult in his state, but after dropping it many times, the wolf fitted into his handcuffs and turned it, releasing himself. What do you plan to do if you fail, my lords? Don't mean death, so I don't know what is there to think about if that happens. Or so I understand. No, you're quite right. It's possible to salvage your kind's existence if this world is, but not if all souls return to Pleroma as the aeons intend. But it is possible then, if you can find somewhere else to live, yes. Do you know anyone who could create a replacement world for you or trek through the void to find a suitable one? I don't think so. Alois didn't mind his accommodations, but he soon discovered the boredom that came with being stuck in a 6x4 meter rectangle. All that happened of note was the guards bringing him food twice a day. It was always the same dish, dried meat and wet mashed potatoes and salad, though it all tasted like unseasoned pasta. And so he spent most of the time escaping into his dreams. When he couldn't sleep, he would do some squats and push-ups or stare at the wall. He regularly asked the guards for news about the abbot's replacements, but they always ignored him. But that changed one morning when they asked him to accompany them. No explanations given. Alois only had his hearing to rely on, but he had been certain he and the hunters were alone in the building. However, the moment he exited the cell, Alois saw a man in a red habit standing next to a nearby door. Nikolau's hand gripped a silver candlestick, and its fire danced beneath his eyes. Let's go. Further down the hallway was a younger man with the same habit and candle. And another. Dozens of monks, both men and women, some of their children, lined the halls as if they were dolls. Were they alive? Alois looked one in the eye and noticed her eyes follow him. They turned left time and time again, the corridor curling into an inward spiral leading to the heart of the facility, but rather than reaching the eventual end, they stopped next to an unlabeled door. And the only one without a mark obstructing it. The hunters pointed at the door before silently walking their way deeper inside the spiral. Well, we are permission. The werewolf stepped into the pristine study. Inside he found the study's master, sitting behind the desk, tapping away at a computer. Despite never meeting this person before, he immediately recognized him. Welcome, my lords. Take a seat. The deity gestured toward a recliner across from him. The monk closed the door and did as instructed. Tim stared into the screen, his finger making an awful noise as it repeatedly hit the table. There was Alois, staring impassively at an almighty being capable of ending his existence and who had every reason to want him dead. Finally, the robot faced him. What a pesky trait that you have. The werewolf tilted his head. Yours was far from the first attempt on Abbott's life, or even on multiple of them at the same time. but to think that you would succeed. That today all my abbats are dead or locked in a cell by the humans that you controlled. Was this how you looked at them while carrying out the deed? With such cold, indifferent eyes. Why did you do it? The robot raised his voice slightly at the end. But Alois had nothing to hide. In fact, talking to a deity besides Nock and about the gatekeepers would prove useful. Tim continued tapping the desk as he listened to his story. So then, I don't care about this. Skip your motive and say it in 10 words or fewer. I want to stop the gatekeepers from destroying the world. Excellent. How did that lead to killing the abbots? Well, I have it on good authority that Enrique wants them dealt with as soon as possible, so I was hoping he'd take action once he became abbot. I didn't have the time or means to do anything else. I see. One last question. How much did Obley have to do with this? The wolf blinked. He was there while we planned this. Why? Before I tell you, let's talk about your future, Alois. I was prepared to make you understand the gravity of your situation, but I see now that will be pointless as you are no common human. Your composition is the same, but you have some cross wires, for a lack of a better term. So let's get to the point. The churches want you dead, and I don't have a reason to deny them this risk. That is, unless we make a deal. Was it supposed to be blackmail? Both of them knew that the werewolf only had Nock to fall back on in the case the churches called for his execution. Alois believed in his master, but the offer of a new, easier way out was tempting. What kind of deal? I need you to do something impossible one more time. Tim closed the laptop and with both hands behind his back began circling the werewolf. I assume that's as much detail as I'm getting until I accept. Indeed. Dying would be bad. Even if I succeeded, I wouldn't get to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I'm confident my master can save me, but the churches and the descendants will still hunt us afterward. If you make it so that doesn't happen now, I'll comply. Good enough. Now, I need you to stop Obley. In their time together, Alois couldn't help but try to pry into Obley's life. However, the descendant always was vague or taught about back when he still lived among his siblings. He never gave up a hint of how he ended up working with the gatekeepers. And so the werewolf asked Nock instead. After some trials, Nock commented that the monk and Obley weren't too different. Obley had also saved the world from destruction once, although that landed him on the opposite side eventually. Alois lost interest after that, so he didn't ask for further details. Have you ever heard of Nerus madness? I don't believe so. Tim told him about Obley's past, about why he suspected he worked with Nomino, and also about this narrow person, who the robot described as a living deterrent weapon against his descendants. Or that Obley was feeling in his absence. To summarize, your first guess was that he's trying to bring this narrow back. That doesn't sound correct. Elaborate. Simple. Nomino succeeding means the world's end. That includes Obley, his lover, so the solution Nomino's offered him would be useless. Indeed, so I considered if he was a victim of trickery next. It can't be. He has told me the world will be destroyed. He knows what he's doing. Just what is he trying to achieve then? Alois was understanding the full picture. Tim was afraid that he couldn't defeat an Obley armed with the Aeon's power. Negotiation wasn't possible either, as Obley's motive to cooperate with Nomino was a mystery. The deity was cornered. Perhaps Obley and I were similar 2,000 years ago, but could he truly live such an extraordinary amount of time without changing? Maybe this is exclusive to mortals, but I can't imagine my relationship with Knock or even my worldview remaining static for so long. Are you suggesting he has become suicidal? Well, that's the fate of many safe sitters. Who says it can't happen to the sinner too? But that would be the worst case scenario, especially for you. He didn't necessarily make that big of a leap. For example, what if he's trying to fulfill a different goal now? If there's something else motivating him that the sinners couldn't find out what it is. Have you asked him? Yes, in fact. We located him a few days ago and sent someone to negotiate, but it didn't go well. My current theory is that he discovered a detail of Nominal's plan we're not aware of. Something that makes it compatible with his known goal. A way to preserve this world, perhaps. Tim walked in front of the recliner, looking down at Lois. I believe you understand what I want. Find Oberly's motive and stop him from further collaborating with Nominal. Just out of curiosity, what will happen if I fail? The descendants are ready to be mobilized. As an Arkan, it's my job to see that the life of the children of Samel are preserved. But I can't put the safety of this planet over everything else. The descendants will repel the gatekeepers or die trying. So this planet would be done for no matter what. Tim nodded. Now you've spent years in Owen's company. You may think you know nothing, but I want to believe you are mistaken. It wasn't a coincidence you two met. To me, it's obvious it was fate. Fate. You and Nerus share more than you think, Alois. If we are lucky, then I might compel Ober to open up to you. Yes, it really was plain to see. Ober must have thought about it countless times, bitter at the irony. Maybe Ted was right. Maybe Alois was the only one Ober sympathized with enough to listen to him. So, when you tried to dissuade Ober, impossible as it may seem, that was merely a rhetorical question. Creaking wood, rocks being crushed to dust, the carriage groaned in response to every hole in the road. Alois woke to the dim light in the carriage's compartment. It seemed he was still processing everything. He couldn't fall back asleep, but it didn't matter. They were slowing down. The sun was already settling, dust bathing the city. Alois got off the carriage with a bag over his shoulder that contained some money and clothes Tim's church had prepared. The station's windows were broken, the doors rotten, and the business had gone to rust, and not a single soldier was nearby. The coachman tilted his cap, hiding his eyes. Do you know where to go? Tim only mentioned a construction site in some neighborhood I could use some directions. Give me that. From the bag, the coachman produced a map of the city and a pencil. He outlined a path before handing it all back. Remember to go into human form before you leave. You're easy to recognize as a wolf. Yes, thank you. The sound of whipping flesh rang out, followed by a shrill neigh and a now familiar cacophony of hooves, wood, and stove. The werewolf turned around and entered the station. By the time he reached the streets, he was ready to blend in as a human. Now, let's get started. The city didn't follow the strict itinerary the Abbeys did, but Alois still found it interesting how many people were still around. Likewise, plenty of businesses were still open. It was the perfect chance for the werewolf to grab some steak on the way to the hotel. Best food he had in weeks. It led him to a 4-story tall complex overseeing a park spanning multiple blocks. After double checking it was the right place, Alois went in and approached the receptionist. The man perked up as soon as he entered, eyes dancing between him and the clock. Hello. I'm looking to lodge here. What might your name be, sir? Alois introduced himself with a pseudonym. Tim had agreed with the idea, since Enough time had passed for his real name to reach Plato. The receptionist produced a worn-out ledger from a drawer and dropped it on the table. Mr. Red, here you are. I almost forgot that I received your reservation and payment via mail. How clumsy of me. Here, room 305. Thank you very much. Alois entered his room just to leave the bag on the bed, taking only the map and key with him. If he hurried, he should make it before night fell. He navigated the labyrinthine city streets further north to a construction site. The fence surrounding the half-finished building had gone to rust. As he looked around to make sure he was alone, Alois crouched down. His legs strained the fabric of his pants before launching him over the fence. He landed on all four on the other side. It was quiet and it smelled of old armor. Recalling tense words, Alois approached a small building off to the side. The entrance was held shut by a chain and a lock, but there was a hole high in the wall. He seen a ladder on the way there, but figuring out it would be better to not touch anything unnecessary, he readied himself and leaped into the fissure. Inside was dark, and a stench like a mix of mold and sewage made him recoil. This place doesn't suit you, Obi. Below, the ground was bare, and at the center was the entrance to a well composed of gray bricks piled on top of each other. On the rim of the well sat the long descendant, still wearing his nut's habit. Obi opened his eyes, but didn't bother to look at Alois. He had been expecting him. It took you long enough. I even thought you wouldn't come. Did the gatekeepers already know of his involvement? Again, Obi suspected that would be Alois' first thought. Don't worry, the gatekeepers know nothing. I just figured it would make sense if you came here. If we are separated, then we will inevitably meet again, that's all. What are you talking about? Never mind that. You must be here to stop me, right? These last few thousand years have been very uneventful. Seeing you massacre the Abbots was the first excitement I've had for as long as I can remember. I'm so excited to see what you got in store for me now, especially since you have Tim's backing. Is he trying to play with me or to control the conversation? He foresaw my arrival, so he's most likely prepared to dissuade me somehow. Still, I can only push on. I'm not here to fight. Fighting a normal descendant will already be out of the question, let alone you. Obi blinked and looked up at Alois for the first time. You just want to talk, then. You aren't hiding any trick with your water magic or planning using knock against me somehow. I can't believe you came here so unprepared. You need to leave, now. The rebel's grip on the stone wall tightened, his nails growing sharper. Wells coming back soon. I don't mind you sticking around as long as you don't try to go further than this, but he isn't so terrible. If he catches you, he'll try to kill you. I promise you this isn't a trick either. I had to forcibly remove the last messenger before they wouldn't listen. Alois relaxed. I see. What is he doing? Probably getting drunk somewhere, or hitting on somebody. But he never stays away past 8. The descendant smiles. He's very diligent about that. Does he go out often? He hates staying here or in the underground, so he's always away during the afternoon. Anyway, go now, and that's not to clean up after you. We all notice your footprints and smell otherwise. Asking not to act outside his church would make Tim suspicious, but Obi was right. He had to explain himself to the deity later. I'll be back, Obi. I know. Once he was outside the construction site, he held his pendant and, closing his eyes, prayed to his master for help. Suddenly, everything went dark. The monk expected to find himself in his hotel room, but when the moonlight went down, he was just a few blocks away from the construction site. While not could hide anything he wanted within his domain, that wasn't necessarily true for the city. Always had been sneaky, as he opposed to construction sites, but he couldn't avoid the gazes of all the passerby where he left the hotel, making that a fact that he couldn't be swept under the rug. It was fortunate it had happened then, and not at a riskier time. I understand. I'll take care when visiting Obley. And they realize, well, is that big of a concern? Obley has wisely, let me in, concerned about the power balance. The jig is up not just for us, but for everyone else. So we're all tiptoeing around each other, hoping to get what we want with the least collateral damage. This will be easier for us if Well doesn't find you, and Obi seems to think he's nearing his objective, so he wants to prevent Well from upsetting the balance. The monk leaned against him as he looked up to the sky, not pointing at the vortex of lights in the sky. The river flowed so quickly it became a blur. Trees died and were born with each breath, and the stars slowly vanished while that cluster alone grew larger and larger. Their surroundings were unrecognizable, but signs there were that the space was based off Monterey had vanished. I think I read about this back in your church. Apparently the humans of the old world predicted the fusion of, what was the word? Galaxies. The Milky Way with Andromeda. Right. Despite what your hubris as a species may tell you, you humans will be long gone by the time this happens. So watch closely, dear Lois. This is a sight of after the end. Finalizing playback. Huh? How strange. Before I can move where I saw over, the egg lights up. Was that clear enough? Have you finally noticed? As if he needed to point it out. I turned away from the time egg and walked off into the Red Sea, staring at the ripples under my steps, not caring where I'm headed. I'm now allowed too far from the device anyway. It's a small thing, too small, and yet so large in my mind, overshadowing everything else I saw. Why? Why did the date appear when I checked Aloysius' record this time? I'm surprised at how much that detail frustrated me. Like when a thought slips past your mind just when you're about to speak it. And similarly, I can't find it again no matter how much I search. The ripples now splashes of water. I will turn to the time egg and grab it like a net. What did you mean last time about me not realizing the countdown's significance? Why would I tell you, imbecile? Keep walking in circles until you feel like drowning yourself for all I care. I banged my fingers and smacked the damn egg. The prospect of going outside isn't so intimidating anymore. I can't punch fire in the face of Elias. I assume he has a face. This is better. I was so tired of seeing you confused and trembling like a scared puppy. You're not a puppy, you're a killer, so start acting the part. Oh, so I'm a murderer? I didn't say that. There are killers that go all their lives without acting out their nature. I'm not confirming or denying anything as you should expect. I said yes. If I'm a killer, maybe I'm a Lois. You think Elisa couldn't kill too? Or maybe you don't feel you're merely human or a woman. Do you consider you might be a woman? I guess not, but now that you mention it, none of those feel right, no? A human couldn't survive these burns, for instance. I must be a descendant or Satan, or my words stopped, and after a moment I found the scream. What are you trying to do? Excuse me? You did it again. You say you won't tell me who I am, but then give up clues to get me thinking. It's almost like it's in your interest to keep me guessing. And not much I'll hang for an instant. Did you corner me in this room on purpose, didn't you? What are you trying to do to me? So jumpy all of a sudden. Are you that desperate for answers? Why do you even want to know who you are? Just look at yourself. It's obvious that answer won't be pleasant. Just lay down and forget everything. I heave a sigh. I'm through with this. Oh? I'll get my answer straight from you. Wait for me. The time egg makes a noise like it's about to crack until I whip it away from the red tendrils. When the light returns, I'm back at the fountain. Right, at least I found a place just like this, didn't she? It's similar to when I woke up in a church cell that, as far as I could tell, belonged to Smith's Abbey. One more thing to ask Pi about, I suppose. The time it one more time and time again, warning me about going outside, but I'm past paying any mind. Besides, I already told Pyre to expect me. I don't want to keep him waiting for long. Tossing the egg aside, I climb down the fountain and head into the saddles past the doorway. To be continued. If you are interested in the story so far, consider donating to my Ko-fi or Patreon page. It will make the development process much smoother. Thank you for playing. Until next time. So that's all for Nerus for now. So everything's starting to, well, they've been connecting for a while, but they're definitely connecting now. So Aloys is in Plata, and he went through that same area that Elisa went through, and he went to Obley and tried to dissuade him out of the plan, but he was determined to go ahead with the plan. So it's confirmed now that Obley is doing this so he can rescue Nerus. Now, when Aloys was being interrogated by, I forgot the name, Temp, I guess. Temp. He asked Aloys if he knew Nerus Madness. He said no, and that he is very similar to Nerus Madness in a lot of ways. So apparently, Nerus Madness is kind of important here. You know, the fact that he even bothered to bring up a Nerus Madness, he must be important to what's about to happen. For him to talk about Nerus Madness to Aloys. So Rail has a part in this whole plan that Obley and Knock Owen there's something about some kind of balance and not wanting and Obi not wanting the balance to be disrupted by Well. So I don't know what that means. Like maybe the plan could maybe fail if there's an unbalance. Like if Well gets angry or rebels somehow, then the plan to create a rift might not go properly. Maybe. So I'm assuming that Elisa and Biden and Bernardo are still in the town. While I'm assuming that they were still in Plata while Aloys is here now. So if that's the case, and they'll run into him soon. So all the characters from the three stories, well, the two stories really, all the characters from chapter one of the prologue, they're connecting now. Obley from, well, technically Obley is Sax, but Obley from chapter, well, the prologue really. Technically a prologue, but we don't really see Obley till chapter two. But technically he's for the prologue because he technically was Sax, but anyway, Obley from the prologue and Nerus, and you got Body, Elisa, and Bernardo from chapter one, and Aloys chapter one also, and all that. So in this prior person who is speaking to this mysterious person in the the webs area, you know what I mean? Um, I don't know why he would. I guess he knows who this person is, but he wants the person to figure out on their own for some reason. Why they won't tell the person who they are, I don't know, but I might be wrong, but I'm thinking this person might be Neville Madness, but his memories are gone, and that he doesn't know that he's actually Neville Madness, and that he's a safe center, but I could be wrong. Now, this person did say about him bearing their fangs, so like sharp teeth, so Neville Madness has that, but again, the descendants have that also. The reptiles, they got fangs too. So I wonder what's going to happen eventually. So about Bidey and Bernardo, they're getting pretty close every time we see them. I think they're going to be engaged. I might be wrong, but that's what I'm feeling. I have a feeling they're going to be engaged, and I guess at least we'll have two daddies then. So I'm really eager about how this is going to end, because the creator of Nerus, he's working on Devil's Gambit, which is a game that is on the channel right now. I'm waiting for that game to come out so I can do the newest update for that. So the creator for this game is working on that game. So obviously it's gonna be a long time until he gets back to this game, Nerus, because he's working on Devil's Gambit. But hopefully it won't be too long because I'm eager to see how all this folds, even how all this develops and how it eventually ends. And Obley, he's kind of like a villain. Maybe in some ways he is, especially at the end there with the way he talked to Aloys, kind of like Aloys, kind of like the good guy talking to the bad guy. Sort of like it, not completely, but sort of like it. Aloys saving the world, and Obley is the one who's trying, well, maybe not trying, but he certainly does not mind having the world destroyed so he can see Nerus again. It's a very selfish. I mean, I understand he misses Nerus, but kind of selfish the fact he's willing to have the world destroyed to see him. But it's been 2,000 years since that battle, so people change in that amount of time. This Obley isn't really the Obley from back then, when he fought in the second battle of the Aeon. He's a different person now. So something more selfish now than he was back then, when he was about trying to save the world. Now he doesn't really care about it now. Just wants to get Nerus out of the void, if it means destroying the Earth. So, like, if there's a breach opens, then that will free both Nerus and Samel, the god, but in doing so will destroy the Earth. So, wonder how this is going to happen. Well, we'll just have to wait. So, it'll be a while till we get back to this here, Nerus. One more thing, apparently, this person, the person he's trying to figure out who he is, he, ran to a fountain. I don't know if that's the exact same fountain Elisa was at or not, but apparently this fountain is very important, not only for Elisa, but for this person as well. So we'll just have to see how important it is. Alright, so enough with Nerus for now. Thank you all very much for watching. Bye.